back to It's All Her, the podcast. I'm your host, Jordy Lucas. I'm the founder and editor of It's All Her. I was an actress in a previous life and I'm a mum to a toddler. I've got a lot going on and I have a passion for helping women live simpler, better lives. For the latest in lifestyle and entertainment news, head to itsallher.com. Well, it happened. I said it was going to last week and I was right. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but COVID got me. So I've been sick all week. My 2-year-old caught it very mildly, luckily. Of course, my fiance has managed to dodge the whole thing, which is typical. But as I am recording this, we are day 5 of isolation. It hasn't been too bad, and honestly, I do feel crappy, but I've definitely been sicker. I ended up getting tonsillitis as well, which I am prone to after a cold or a virus. So it is hard to tell which symptoms are COVID and which are the tonsillitis. I am so grateful that this has been mild for myself and my daughter. I'm fully vaccinated and neither of us have any underlying conditions. So it was to be expected, but there was still anxiety there, especially when she started to develop symptoms. I had so much guilt for passing it on to her. You never want to see your child sick, but when you know that you've passed it on to them, it's, not fun. But it feels like we're on the other side of it now, and all things going well, we will be out of isolation this week. Let's get into this episode's interview with Lauren Jackson. Now, Lauren is one of Australia's most successful basketball players. She represented Australia in the Olympics, but she's also played in Chinese, Korean, and American leagues. And late last year, I caught up with Lauren to talk about her career, why she was disappointed with her retirement, and why she's turned to CBD oil to treat her chronic pain. We also spoke about how motherhood has changed her relationship with her body, and of course how she keeps life simple for herself. Here's my chat with Lauren Jackson. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you. I played basketball as a young girl and idolized you. How have you been? It's been a crazy year, hasn't it?
Oh gosh. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it has been nuts, absolutely nuts. I think just with COVID the last 2 years and the lockdowns and just the uncertainty around everything, it's definitely sort of changed the way we live and probably subconsciously as well, the way that we normally would go about our business, it's sort of changed, and trying to plan anywhere in the future is really, really difficult because we just don't know what's going to happen. So,
yeah. So you are one of the most decorated Australian basketball players. What are some of your earliest memories of the game?
Well, I think just being around the stadium here in Albury and watching my parents play and coach and, I just remember being at the basketball courts, and if I was tired, I'd, get under the bench and go to sleep under the seats and today, I just was shooting with some friends just then, and the ball where it landed, up sort of above, just below the windows and stuff, it landed there. But oh my God, that just reminded me of something I did when I was 10 years old. So It's funny, but just those moments in the stadium. And I guess because I've moved back home, where I was born and raised, I get to sort of live a lot of the old memories that sort of come flooding back. So it's pretty special. Yeah.
And aside from your height, when did you realise that you could potentially make a career out of playing the sport?
Well, my mum and dad both represented Australia, and my mum actually was one of the first female basketballers to go over to college in America and play. So she went to LSU in the 70s, and I just wanted to follow in my mum's footsteps. When I was 2, my grandmother cut her Australian uniform down for me, and there's all these photos of me in Australian uniforms from when I was a baby.
Yeah.
So I guess I just always thought I would be a basketballer, and I never considered that I would be anything else. So and I was really fortunate to have had parents that had done it themselves. So it was a real achievable goal and something that was right there, and definitely something that I could do. So, and I loved it, right from the minute I picked up a basketball, I was obsessed with it. My brother, on the other hand, hated it. He hated basketball. He was 6'8", and he's 6'8", just in love with trains. I don't know, trains.
What a waste.
Well, he wouldn't say that because he's actually really good at what he does, but he just never really got into basketball. So I think I was just born to do it. It was my destiny.
Yeah. So you had an incredible career, but if you had to pick some of the highlights, what would they be?
Oh, look, there are a lot of highlights. I think, obviously winning the World Championship was so special because I was representing Australia in the green and gold. And what else? I think a lot of it, just WNBA championships. I think that first MVP was really, really special over in America in 2003 because I was the first foreigner. And I was so young, I think I was about 23 or something, or 22. And I just never thought that would happen. And then the same thing with the Hall of Fame just recently, the Naismith Hall of Fame. That was pretty special. Yeah.
And so you had a string of injuries and you ended up retiring because of an ongoing knee condition. And you have been quoted saying that it didn't end quite the way you wanted it to.
No.
How did you reconcile that? I mean, you've got this injury, but in your heart, you want to go on. How did you come to that decision to actually walk away?
Well, the injury itself I had in 2014 when I was playing in China, and it was a degenerative issue. So nobody knew that it was sort of happening. And it was an interesting one too, because for years, I'd get this pain in the back of my knee and nobody could figure out what it was, like MRIs, and then it would go away. And I never thought anything about it until it flared up again the next time. And so when I was in China, I felt it rip. So that pain actually then ripped. I felt it rip in the back of my knee. And, obviously there's a big language difference there, and they speak Mandarin, and I didn't understand anything the coach was saying to me. He didn't understand anything I was saying to him. And it got to the point where, I was just in so much pain that I was crying. I sort of jumped in a jump ball, and my knee, just ripped. I felt it was bizarre. And he wouldn't sub me off. So I'm playing in this first half of the game, and the coach would not sub me off. And I mean, I was in tears, and I've never been like that on a basketball court. And at halftime, I just said, mate, I've got to go home. I've got to go home and get this seen, because it's whatever it is, I cannot run. I can't move.
Yeah.
So I ended up leaving the club. We got to the playoffs and everything, and I had to leave them, right when we hit playoffs. But, it was the end of my career. So, I mean, in hindsight, looking back, it was one of those things where I just and then, look, it was from that point on till 2016 when I retired, it was surgery after surgery, because I was rushing back to try and get back to different teams, different tournaments, and I just kept re-injuring it. And for 2 years, I just really was suffering a lot and a lot of surgeries. So I think in my mind, I was kind of like, when the doctor said to me, this is it, you cannot come back from this, I was kind of relieved, because and I'd said to them too, if you don't think I can go on, you need to say it, because I can't say it, because I think I knew in my heart that it was never going to get better. And the last injury I did was a torn ACL, and then I got a bloody staph infection. And that was it. That was the last straw.
Yeah.
And that the doctors finally said to me, this is it. And I was relieved. I was relieved because I was able to get off all the medication. I was able to start the rest of my life and move on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was hard. Don't get me wrong. When you do retire, there's a moment where you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with myself? But in the same breath, there was just so much to look forward to.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you sort of come up against a bit of an identity crisis? I mean, so much of your life has been dedicated to being a basketball player, and then all of a sudden you walk away. Was there a bit of a who am I without this sport and this part of me?
Yeah, definitely. There was, but I really invested a lot of time in studying and trying to get myself just a degree so that at least I had something behind me so that I could, go into something different and find a passion somewhere else. And, I was really fortunate to pick up a gig with one of the WNBL clubs, which was great, gave me a little bit of experience. I did some more work experience with the ACT government as well for a period of time. And then I sort of got my dream job, which was with Basketball Australia and working in the WNBL. So that was really cool. And now I head up women in basketball. So it's been, look, I sort of really made a point of upskilling and getting taking as many opportunities that came my way, because I knew that I didn't have that skill set.
Yeah.
And I needed to find what I was good at. And look, it's still a daily thing. Like, I'm still learning. My CEO, our CEO at Basketball Australia, great guy. He's really helping me sort of hone in on skills and things that he thinks are going to sort of push me into being a better leader, I suppose. And that's really exciting. And it's been great because I've had a lot of people around me in my career that have really tried to help me and sort of seen potential in me as well. So,
yeah. I was having this conversation with Holly Furling on the podcast a few weeks ago, and she's an Aussie cricketer. And she was saying how important it is for female athletes, especially, to have other things going on, because often female athletes aren't paid a full-time wage. Where do you think, I mean, obviously women need to be paid more, but how do you think we change that and get the eyes on more women's sport to actually make that happen?
I think that there's a lot of things that, need to change. I mean, look, a lot of it, we talk about the way that women are spoken about, not just, in sport, but in life. So, breaking down those barriers and those stereotypes, and we're still doing that. I mean, it's every single day I still hear something. I'm like, that's kind of sexist still. That's a little bit not, that's not how you should be thinking about things. But I think that there's a lot to say as well for representation in the media and those media quotas for women's sport, particularly in nightly news, national news, in the papers and things like that. So I think there's a long way to go in that sense. And like I said, just change of language, change of mindset around female athletes. And it's happening slowly. It is.
But there's also I feel like a lot of female athletes are sexualized as well. I can't remember the footballer's name, but she's an AFLW player. And there was a photo of her kicking the ball up, and it was like this. Yeah, and it's like that never happens to men. Like, men are never sexualized in that way.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, I think that there is still a long way to go. And I think, you're right. It's interesting how people sort of look at female athletes and just, incredible athletes with skill and flexibility and strength and everything. And I think sometimes people don't know, how to talk about that without sexualizing women, because it's always been, like, oh, wow. Yeah, I don't even want to say it myself because there's no point, but it just, to me, I think it's a change in language, change in narrative. And like I said, I think, we need to talk about quotas, in the media. I think that's something really important because there's still just not enough representation on the TV at night time. We still just get blown away with football and rugby and all those very male-dominated sports. So
yeah. Just going back to the injuries that you had and the pain that you had, and I know that you were able to sort of come off painkillers after retiring, and you have recently opened up about your use of medicinal cannabis for your chronic pain. So where did that start, and who sort of recommended that would be an option for you?
Actually, one of my best friends over in America became an advocate for CBD, or so Sue Bird. And I said to her, I was like, wow, I'm so impressed with what you're doing. She's like, it's amazing. You need to try it. So I went and spoke to my GP here, and that was probably middle of last year. And they prescribed it to me, and I started using it then. And honestly, it was probably April last year. I felt incredible, but it was just so expensive, and it was just it was one of those things where it wasn't sustainable for me to be taking it and paying that much money. So I was just I put it on the back burner, and then the opportunity came up for me to go on a medical trial through Leven Health, and so I did it, and it's given me the opportunity to recover. So what was happening was I was trying to get back into the gym. I was trying to go for a run or whatever. My knee would swell up. I'd be out for 2 weeks, and then I couldn't keep doing that. I couldn't keep coming back. And for me, it's been the recovery aspect it's really helped. I think it's in terms of the anti-inflammation properties. It's definite. I've noticed a huge difference in my recovery time, and that's been the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. So would you say that in terms of, say, taking a prescribed painkiller versus taking the CBD oil or medicinal cannabis, what's the difference in terms of how you feel? Does it because I think there's this stigma that it's weed or that it's going to alter your mindset or something like that. Like, how does it actually alter your mind frame at all?
It doesn't, no. So I've only been taking CBD oil, so it's I'm sure people are learning a lot more about it at the moment. THC is the psychoactive drug in marijuana, and there's no THC in CBD oil. So that's what I take, and I my mindset, it doesn't change, my functional capabilities during the day and everything. And, I find that, like I said, just in respect to training, I think, I managed to get sort of all facets of my life really working quite well. And, I'm mum of two little boys and working and everything. And my health just became a priority in the last couple of years, because I really want to be able to raise them and show them what a really strong, physically capable mum looks like. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get back in the gym. I couldn't get on the court with them. I was struggling playing with them out in the backyard. And this has just changed all of that for me, and it's been so helpful. So I feel really good about it, and it's something that I want to talk about, because if it can help other people, then I definitely want to be someone that would advocate for that. I'm not saying it works for everybody, but for me, it's made a massive, massive difference.
And so the trial and the feedback from what you're hearing, what do you think the future might hold for it in Australia?
There's a lot of research being done, and Leven Health at the moment have invested in a lot of the research and the trials that are happening at the moment, which is really exciting. And for me, I'm actually part of their sport advisory board now, so just to be able to learn about that stuff is super important to me as well. Obviously, if you want to put your name to something, you want to know about it. So look, I'm just part of that process at the moment, and just learning as much about it as I can, be as informed as I can be. But it's look, I feel a million times better than I did 2 years ago, and I think it shows. And the way that I'm able to train again, I want to try and get back out on the basketball court at whatever level. It doesn't matter. I want to be able to do that and do it pain-free.
Yeah, gosh, a domestic team would be pretty lucky to have a team.
I look terrible at the moment because I've just been training this morning, actually. So it's been a real game changer for me. It's changed my life, and obviously my mindset's changed a lot since I was a professional athlete, because I really have to focus. Well, my main priority is my kids, and I just be as healthy as possible for them. And it's been a game changer.
Yeah. And how else did your relationship with your body and your mind and everything change when you became a mum?
Well, look, when, we sort of touched on before the surgeries and everything that I was going through with my knee, I was on a lot of medication at that point too. I was struggling with anxiety and a lot of other sort of mental issues that I really, I've talked a little bit about, but it was just, I think a lot of it also had to do with just the way that the injuries just really took a toll, you know. And so I was on a lot of pain medication at the time. So I was sort of in a bit of a fog most of the time. I just wasn't myself. I felt like a shell of a human being. And when I retired, the minute I retired, I said to my mum, right, I've got to get off all of this crap. You know, I've got to get off it now. So I had a half knee replacement. And then at week 6, I think we got rid of everything out of my house. And it actually felt like, I don't know, I got the shakes. I went through a lot for about a week.
Wow.
And that was it. I just said, right, this is never again. And, you know, I've been true to that. And my life has completely changed. But, you know, the whole pain thing, I don't have to be in pain anymore, which is just blown me away.
Yeah. So what does 2022 hold for you?
2022, it's a big year. I don't know.
Hopefully no COVID.
No. Well, look, I think it's spreading so quickly at the moment.
Yeah.
I think we're all going to get it at some point. It's frightening, right? Like, I think that's something that I just talked to my parents about this morning, but, you know, it's frightening to think that we're all going to get it at some point. So, you know, I'm just going through it at the moment. For me, you know, my kids aren't vaccinated, so I feel...
I feel that as well.
Yeah, it worries me. It worries me a bit. But also, too, we live right next to my parents who, you know, they've got sort of underlying health things as well, and I just really am concerned about them catching it. So same as everybody, we've all got this happening in the back of our minds, probably placing a little bit more pressure and anxiety on us than we would like. But 2022 hopefully will be a good year for work, for play, you know, and just see where it takes me. I'd love to be playing some basketball, and I might be, who knows.
Yeah. So just to finish off, we're all about making life simpler and better for women. How do you make your life simpler and better for yourself?
Oh, look, I think a lot of stuff comes with age and maturity, just learning what your body needs, what you need. You know, for me personally, I'm a single mom with my 2 little boys. I need sleep. So however I get that sleep at nighttime. And at the moment, it's actually bringing them both into bed with me, and they go to sleep and I can study. I'm studying at the moment as well. So, but then I get to sleep with them and hold them, and there's no drama during the night. So it's sort of, it's just little things like knowing what works and then going with it. And so, you know, just making life a little bit easier, just taking the time to really understand what gives you those little moments that you don't like, and then trying to stay away from them, and making little plans around all of it.
Yeah. Lauren, thank you so much for joining us on the show this week. I've loved chatting with you, and all the best for 2022, and hope to see you back on the court.
Yeah, I know. Wouldn't it be cool?
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of It's All Her. If you have loved this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Share it with a friend, and I'll be back in your ears very soon.